Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we got an amazing video for you guys today, as I got a little inspiration from Mr. Steve Dangle. If you guys don't know who he is, the link will be down in the description for his channel. He makes tons of least reaction videos. He's pretty famous for them. You know, the Zamboni flip out and so much more. I would definitely go and recommend checking out his channel. He just is an entrepreneur for reacting to games, I think, and is where I originally got my idea for doing OGRs and stuff like that. So definitely go check out his channel. He has some amazing ideas like the pyramid, or prospect pyramid, and now this, which is such a great idea that he had, and I'll kind of get into it now because you guys are probably wondering, what is it, Peyton? What are you talking about, bro? It is a roster made, or a lineup made out of current contracted players on the Edmonton Oilers. So all the players that are in the RFA, I'm allowed to sign, and all the players that are under contract, like McDavid and Puljujärvi and Draisaitl, I'm going to be building a lineup out of those guys. Now, the rules are, like I said, we're allowed to sign all the RFAs that have NHL experience. Now, they have at least need to play at least a game, which, you know, actually, I was actually able to fill out a pretty decent roster, as I kind of will go over it. Definitely not the best roster, but I think the Oilers have you know, seen worse. And then the next rule: any players that are over 25 years old are allowed to play anyway. So even if you don't have any NHL experience, if you're over 25, you're allowed to be on the roster. And otherwise, I don't think there's any other rules. You guys could go check out Steve Dangle's channel for the rest of the rules, because I won't remember all of them, but I think that's the gist of it. I think that's all I really need to go over. So let's get into the lineup here for the Edmonton Oilers, as we'll be going over the first lineup and of course the forwards, which you guys remember seeing this line near the end of the season, and it was actually really damn fantastic, especially going up against, I think it was the Vancouver Canucks. They did that line a little bit with Kahun, McDavid, and Puljujärvi. That will be our first line for the Edmonton Oilers, and I would really love to see this line more. Even though I would like to see a better replacement than Dominic Kahun, who had a bit of a, you know, a struggling season with the Edmonton Oilers, wasn't able to find his place with Leon Draisaitl. He did near the end of the season. I felt like Kahun started finding chemistry alongside of McDavid, which all of us were asking, why not put Kahun alongside of McDavid for the longest time, and then they did, and they impressed everyone, and then they kind of just broke him apart, and Kahun wasn't able to find his place on the team, which you know, really sucked. But you know, this line would be a very strong line under these, of course, these rules that we have put ourselves under. I think it's a really nice first line for the Edmonton Oilers. Our second line isn't that bad either. I'm pretty sure we have seen this line before too. James Neal, Leon Draisaitl, and Kailer Yamamoto. I put James Neal there because, you know, there's not very many good players on the wing. You'll kind of see that later on. Now, of course, we do have Benson and, you know, young guys who can take that jump up in there, but we needed to kind of, you know, build a lineup that has players that are good on every line, so we're not just horrible. That's why I put Neal on the second line, as you know, he's a decent producer. Had a bit of an off year this year compared to his first year where he had 19 goals. I think this year he only had about 5. He was not the biggest contributor for the Edmonton Oilers this year, but putting him maybe alongside of Leon Draisaitl and Yamamoto, maybe that'll get him going. Yamamoto, as well as an RFA, I signed him to a $2.25 million deal for the next 3 years. Most likely will be a bridge deal with Yamamoto, especially after the struggling year he had with the Edmonton Oilers this past season. So I see him playing on the second line, of course, alongside of Leon Draisaitl. Our third line actually doesn't look that bad, to be honest with you. Our third line is Tyler Benson, Ryan McLeod, and Josh Archibald. I would absolutely love to see this line, and I was wishing I could see this line throughout majority of the past season. Tyler Benson was absolutely insane in the AHL alongside of Ryan McLeod and also Koopa Morado, who I also have on the main roster as well. I think all 3 of those guys are NHL ready and ready to be in the NHL, especially Tyler Benson with how well he was passing the puck, skating for the Bakersfield Condors. He was just amazing. And honestly, I think that this third line would really gel together perfectly. Josh Archibald just goes out there and bangs bodies. Ryan McLeod is a very smart two-way forward out there, and Benson could help bring that offense to that line a little bit. Now, we could wish that we could have maybe a right winger goal scorer for that line or something in that sorts, but, you know, with not having too many good roster players, you know, in the depth here for the Edmonton Oilers, as the fourth line is just going to continue to get weaker. Our fourth line is Jujhar Khaira, Cooper Marado, and Zach Kassian, and this line absolutely hurts. Now, Khaira is an RFA. I've heard we're just going to be qualifying him, so that means another $1.2 million for the next year, which I don't think he's really worth it to sign him. I just don't think he's a guy that I would, you know, respectively sign to be on my fourth line once again, especially alongside Zach Kassian. And then also Cooper, I feel bad for Maradi, but he'll get definitely up in the lineup later on in the year, and maybe even you could do Josh Archibald down the fourth line with Khaira being the centerman, with Maradi playing alongside of McLeod and Benson. You could even do that type of line and just build the entire line that was in the AHL up in the NHL to see how well it'll produce, which, you know, AHL to NHL is completely different. It might not produce as much, but would give us probably our best line out of any of these, you know, bum ass players that we have down there. As we'll get into the fifth line here, as we have a couple depth players to kind of talk about, as Devin Shore, Kyle Turris, and Seth Griffith, who played for Bakersfield Condors all last year. He has another contract. I think it's like $725,000. So we have him. He was an option. Definitely not the greatest option in the world. Wasn't really able to, you know, stick any NHL job. So he's been mostly an AHL guy. You know, Kyle Turris was an absolute bomb last year, and I hope to not see him. I'd rather just bury him or try to trade him off to some other team. And then Devin Shore, I really hope to not see him in the NHL too much. I didn't mind his game. He was hot for a little bit, but he's really inconsistent and wouldn't be a guy that I would play on my team every single day. So that's why I have Devin Shore out of the lineup. He might even be better than Khaira, but it's really bad for the depth. And, you know, looking throughout the forward lines, the weakest thing is our wingers. You know, having Cahoon, Neal, Benson. You know, Benson's going to be a really good player, I think, for the Edmonton Oilers, and Cahoon's decent, but then you have Neal, and then you have Khaira, and you really don't got a lot of strong wingers, especially, you know, on the right side's really strong with Puljujarvi, Yamamoto, but Yamamoto didn't even have that strong of a season. And then you also talk about Archibald and Kassian, who Archibald was decent but got most of his goals in the empty net. So I think the biggest thing for Ken Holland this season is to get a top six winger and to improve upon that depth. Maybe Maradi's ready, but he could also play on the wing, and I think we definitely need a veteran third-line centerman for this team. I would love to see Ryan McLeod play on the third line, but we have enough money to sign a really good third-line guy to really make a good third line, which I think is the biggest thing that we need in this team is depth, because I think if we have a little bit more of depth, I think we could go a lot farther than, you know, what we have in these past two seasons where we haven't even really won a game, right? We won we got swept by Winnipeg. We won one game out of the last 2 years in the playoffs, and that was one in the play-in against the Chicago Blackhawks. I mean, it was just absolutely embarrassing, and I think we definitely need to improve upon our depth, because 5-on-5 wise for that depth, it is rough. So otherwise, it's not a bad top six. I think this team respectively probably could make it to the playoffs with the forwards. But now let's get on to the defense, because there's a lot of big questions with the defense. So as you guys can see here, we got Nurse and Bear, Klefbom, Bouchard, Jones, and Russell. And then we got Lindstrom and Legason. Not that bad of a defensive core. Mostly everyone is staying from last year. Now, the biggest question is with this team is Klefbom. If Klefbom is still going to be injured, and what, you know, the rumors have been having it is going to retire. If he's going to retire, then Caleb Jones moves up alongside of Bouchard. And then, of course, Legacy moves in alongside of Russell, which I am not a big fan of. You know, I would not mind Caleb Jones playing in the top four, because analytically, he doesn't look that bad. And even watching over his game tape, I think he is a very good puck-moving defenseman. The problem is that would be a very young top four. It would be. You would have to rely a lot on Caleb Jones and Bouchard to be a very good defensive pairing, which means it leaves some holes open. Now, we know we're probably going to get back Larson. We've been hearing all the rumors about that, so Larson will probably fill on that right side, which is something we need. Once we get that one right-handed defenseman, that would be perfect. But if we miss out on Klefbom, I think the biggest thing that we do got to target is some new left-handed defenseman, right? I think that's the biggest thing that we need to target with this defensive core going into this year, because I would love to believe in Caleb Jones, and I do, because I think he could be a very good top four defenseman. But if we pick up a nice Alec Martinez, who I think broke his foot during the playoffs, which maybe not him, but just maybe a Mike Riley, maybe a Jake McCabe, one of those guys from free agency, just to kind of bring in some depth. You might even get Mike Riley for cheap as well if Boston doesn't sign him. Anyways, instead of talking about players that we can sign, because I shouldn't be doing that, we're talking about the lineup here. I'm getting tracked off. But I really do like the defense here, especially Nursenberry, which I really hope to see going into next season. And I hope maybe to even see Bouchard play alongside of Darnell Nurse, which I would really like to see as well, because when I seen that during the season, that was pretty cool. But the top four is really up in the air if Klefbom is good to go or not. If he's good to go, then this top four looks deadly, and in the future could be a very lethal, great top four. But we need to improve upon some things. Darnell Nurse needs to get better defensively. Bear's been decent, and Bouchard is very young, right? Klefbom was amazing, but with that, surgery, I think it was his shoulder. How can he go? I mean, I think the doctors were saying if he plays more, it means more arthritis pain is going to be coming in. And if he retires, he won't have to deal with that as much. So we'll have to really see what Klefbom's future is going to entail. That's going to be up in the air, and we probably won't know until the ending of July, most likely. So I hope that Klefbom's okay, but right now I'm expecting the worst. So I think the biggest thing is that we need to improve upon that top four, and we need to fix something on that one, because I think that's going to be our biggest thing going into this offseason, if Klefbom is going to be ready to go or not, because if he's not, we need to get a rental and a top four defenseman, without a doubt. Now we'll be on to the goalies. The last thing, as we got Mikko Koskinen, Alex Stalock, and Stuart Skinner. I don't mind this. The three goalies, they're definitely not what we are looking for. Mikko Koskinen had a bit of an off year. Still, he was decent for the Edmonton Oilers. Had a rough start, but he played 11 games in a row. I really enjoyed Mikko Koskinen near the end of the season. I thought he was a great backup for the team. Alex Stalock, analytically, definitely not the greatest. He put some great numbers with the Minnesota Wild. Didn't get a lot of playing time with the Edmonton Oilers, and Stuart Skinner only played one game with the Edmonton Oilers once. He didn't look that great. I think it was like that 7-5 game. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was against the Vancouver Canucks or something. Anyway, Stuart Skinner got shelled in that game. I think he could potentially be a great future piece, especially since he bounced back great in Bakersfield. I think he had a .914 save percentage. 1 month he had like a .931 save percentage throughout that month. He was insane there in Bakersfield, helping them win that championship. So I think future-wise, I think we're looking really good, especially with Stuart Skinner. Maybe he could potentially even be a backup goalie. I don't think it'll be this year, but maybe 2 years down the road we might be seeing Stuart Skinner. But honestly, looking at this team, it is not a bad team for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, like I was saying, we need to improve upon our defense. If Klefbom's going to be healthy or not, that's going to be our biggest question, is what's going to be happening with Klefbom, because that decides everything with what we do with our defense. And then offensively, we have a pretty good offensive core, but the biggest thing is we need depth, we need a lot of it, and we need some wingers. And we need a good winger to play alongside of McDavid and Puljujarvi. And I think that's the biggest thing we focus in this offseason, is to get back Nuge, get some good wingers, get some good depth, and bring in some goalies. in a defense. We got a lot of money coming into this offseason. With this total roster, it comes to about $13.6 million with this entire roster. Without, throwing everyone down, it's about 17.6. And on cap friendly, it was saying that we have a total right now of $21 million in cap space. So we have some money to spend. And I think we could really, really pick up some good players if we play smart with it. So I'm really excited for this offseason, but I'm also really nervous because I've seen Holland do some dumb stuff before. So we'll have to see what happens. But for right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. Tell me, guys, what did you think of the video? I thought this was really fun. It was really fun to see, the weaknesses of the Edmonton Oilers and to see what we hopefully are going to improve upon going into this upcoming season. And I'm hoping Holland's watching this and knowing by now what he needs to do for this Edmonton Oilers team, because I can't take another first round loss. I'm already feeling like a Maple Leafs fan already. I don't want to feel like one even more. So please build a good team, Holland. I'm putting my hopes in you, dude, and I know it's gonna probably crash and burn, but that's what it's like being an Edmonton Oilers fan, apparently. But for right now, guys, I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.